evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight at the Town Hall Theater. I am Becky Dayton. I own the bookshop, and I am the sponsor of this event, but I right now am wearing the Town Hall Theater booster hat because Lisa Mitchell, the executive and artistic director, is not here to do it. You're all in the Doug and Debbie Anderson studio. I don't know how many of you have been in this beautiful space before, but this was opened last spring with the massive renovation of Town Hall Theater. And to any of you in the audience who were donors or supporters of the theater, thank you very much for helping to make this happen. I'm really very privileged to have the partnership of the theater in presenting literary events in Middlebury. So thank you for being here. And I'm going to welcome Ethan Tapper and Helen Whybrow to the stage. And we are going to have a moderated conversation about their books.
I love these yellow chairs.
Hello.
Hi, again, now I'm Becky Dayton from the bookshop. And I would like to thank, as Becky Dayton from the bookshop, the Town Hall Theater crew and staff and all of their great volunteers. They are fantastic people to work with. And again, I am really privileged to be a part of this. I would like to introduce my guests this evening, Helen Whybrow and Ethan Tapper. Ethan is a forester, a writer, a conservationist, a punk rocker, and a social media influencer based in Bolton, Vermont. Ethan was the Chittenden County Forester for the Vermont Department of Forests, Parks, and Recreation, where his work focused on public land, stewardship, forest health, and climate resilience. He's the founder of Bear Island Forestry and Consulting, which is named for the land he writes about acquiring, rescuing, and conserving in his beautiful book. A graduate of UVM's Rubenstein School of Environment and Natural Resources, Ethan is the author of How to Love a Forest, which won the New England Book Award in 2025. I almost said 1925, 2025, and it was a finalist for the Vermont Book Award, as well as and he's also written the children's book Willow and the Storm. Helen Whybrow is a shepherd. Do you identify as a shepherd? Okay. Farmer, writer, mother, daughter, and wife who lives and works in the Mad River Valley. She and her husband, Peter Forbes, own and operate Knoll Farm, where they host a national leadership nonprofit in addition to raising Icelandic sheep and cultivating blueberries. I have to be careful not to say seeps when I hear Icelandic sheep, because that's how my guide in Iceland referred to all of the sheep, as the seeps. Helen has a master's degree in journalism from Harvard and is a former book editor with previous positions at Countryman Press, a division of W.W. Norton, Chelsea Green, and Orion Magazine. Helen Whybrow is the author of The Saltstones, which was longlisted for the National Book Award and was a New England Book Award finalist. She lost out to him. A PBS NewsHour summer reading recommendation, it was as well, and a New Yorker Magazine Best Book in 2025. So I'm delighted to welcome you both to Middlebury, and thanks for making the time and coming over the snowy mountain roads to be here. So we're going to start with each of you doing a brief introduction of your books, and I'm going to invite you each to do a brief reading. So who would like to start? Did you work that out?
We didn't.
Okay, you didn't?
We did not.
All right, let's have Helen's.
Sure.
Okay, is this working? Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Thank you all for coming out. What an amazing space. This is my first time here, so thank you, Becky, for putting this all together, and for everyone at the Vermont Book Shop and the Town Hall Theater. Really honored to be here. So my book, The Saltstones, is really the culmination of sort of 25 years of stewarding and shepherding and living on this hillside in Fayston, Vermont, which is just on the other side of the App Gap. And my husband Peter and I moved there 25 years ago. We acquired the place from the Vermont Land Trust. And it's a very, very hilly, steep piece of land. It's not the kind of land that you can farm in a commercial way, obviously in a commercial way. It's like, there's really no safe place to drive a tractor or turn over the land. It's very rocky, very steep. And so it made sense to us from the very beginning to get sheep there and to grow high bush blueberries, which is the other thing we do. And then sort of a very big part of our life that is only hinted at in this book is a place that we call the Refuge, which is really a gathering place for people working on justice issues all over the country, especially related to land justice. So urban agriculture, migrant labor, land return, land repair, really convening people across difference to talk about very difficult and long-standing, historically difficult issues around land and land access and equity. And so we really felt from the beginning that we wanted the backdrop of that work to be a working farm. I grew up on a farm in New Hampshire. Farming is in my bones. It's what I most love to do. And we also, like Ethan, came to this place understanding that it was pretty worn out ecologically and it needed a lot of love and restoration. I got a little bit obsessed with pastoralism and the idea of being able to use animals as a tool for ecological restoration. Studied holistic management and permaculture and other things that are related to these ideas, and brought a flock of sheep to the land and really started to understand the land and understand the ecosystem and feel part of it, intimately part of it, through my flock of sheep. And so I started sort of making notes and writing down stories. I'm really excited to talk to Ethan about his writing process and how he accumulates his ideas and stories. For me, it was mostly in my head and a little bit in my journals. And about 5 years ago, I started writing things down. And my daughter kept creeping into the book, and my mother kept creeping into the book, and it became sort of more than about pastoralism and shepherding and restoring the land. But I really didn't intend to write this book when I set out. It sort of, in some ways, wrote itself. And I can read a short passage if that's okay. Just a little taste of the book, and I know that Becky's going to have us read some other places too, but this is just a little short passage from the beginning of the book. Peter and I are in the middle of lambing season. When this begins, it's probably early April. And I'm trying to help a ewe in labor named Blue. I step back from Blue, stand up, and rinse my arms. Her twins are jammed in the birth canal like tangled tree branches in a narrow stream during spring flood. The natural birthing position for a lamb is like a diver, head between front limbs, shoulders forward, and streamlined for the sprint to air. When the arms are back, the shoulders are too broad for the opening. This is the problem with the first lamb, I think. The second lamb has its feet over the first lamb's head, and its own head is somewhere farther back in the womb. Most likely, those were its back legs I could feel, a breech or backward birth. A breech birth can be delivered, but there's a high chance that the lamb will inhale fluid on its way out as the umbilical cord is stretched and breaks. Then it's unlikely to survive. When our daughter Wren was born, our midwife lifted her to my chest, and Peter cut the cord near her belly. In my exhausted state, where images took on a strangely supernatural intensity, I remember thinking how thick the cord looked, like a sinewy tree root you find while digging, the kind that resists every effort of the spade. Something muscular and undeniable. A lamb's umbilical is as translucent and soft as a bit of milkweed down. I've never had to cut or break a cord. It always happens on its own as the lamb slips out of its watery home and onto the hay, becoming a creature of the breathing world. This astonishes me that the cord that sustains life could be so thin. Perhaps so, being of a creature that's closer to the wild. A ewe would have to lick the birth membranes from the lamb and be on her way, to leave little trace behind for predators to smell. The lamb's ability to get to its feet and follow its mom within a few minutes of being born is an evolutionary imperative. Would Blue die in the wild, I wonder? Probably, yes. No doubt all these thousands of years that humans have been shepherds and helped ewes give birth have tweaked the evolutionary arc so that not only the easy birthers pass on their genes. A nomadic shepherd would have helped to birth so that the whole flock could more quickly move out of the wind, get away from predators, or find the spring grass. Only in the worst cases would they have abandoned a laboring ewe and unborn lambs to the wolves. On Vermont hill farms like ours, most of which were self-sufficient by economic necessity well into the 20th century, another live birth would have meant hope for a family that faced spring with little left but potatoes and cabbage in the cellar. The peaks surrounding our farm tell this story: Scrag, Stark, Mount Hunger, while Shepherd's Brook drains their slopes to the Mad River. Sheep also meant clothing and blankets during the long period of history when wool was the primary source of all cloth, and every farm woman knew how to make homespun. Those are the practical reasons, but I know there were and are more important reasons shepherds would do everything to assist a birth. This ancient primal thing of caring for a flock is ultimately about human attachment. Blue's eyes are weirdly white, her breath shallow. She rests her horns against the wall and goes still. Inside her womb, I trace shapes of the yet-to-be-born with my fingertips over and over, guessing their anatomy aloud: front foot, nose, back foot, a lock picker in the dark. I have to be absolutely sure before I pull. A faint noise comes from the doorway where a dim light spills from the barn into the sheep shed. Wren, who is 3, has navigated the dark, snowy path from the house to the barn in her dinosaur pajamas to find me. She comes around the corner tentatively with a worried look, then runs quickly down the steps with arms out when she sees me crouched there. I have only glanced her way. My face, I'm sure, is a mask of concentration. Wren climbs onto my back, and her cold hands find the warmth of my neck beneath my parka hood, her 2 big boots dangling from sockless feet. Since her father was away at bedtime, I told her, if you wake up in the night and I'm not in my bed, then look outside. If the barn lights are on, I'm out there and you can come out. I'll leave your boots by the door. I honestly wasn't sure she would figure it out, but I hadn't come up with any better options. Are there babies? She whispers close to my ear. Yes, soon, I say. I leave Blue and put Wren on a hay bale so she can watch. I drape my huge coat around her. I can't take her back to bed. We are in this together now. The first time she saw a birth, she was 2 months old, strapped to my chest under my down coat as I worked to clear a lamb's airway, her tiny head so close to my hands that I was afraid of hurting her. She's old enough now to observe more closely. I wonder if I should warn her about how seeing blood can be scary, and how when a lamb is born, it's normal for it to be wet and limp, sometimes coated with a bright, sticky yellow feces that looks gross, and sometimes the lamb is not alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helen, for reading that. I just want to put a pin in the idea of reciprocity and dependence that shows in that passage, the ewe's need for you in assisting the birth and what the ewe and her offspring can provide in terms of meat and wool. And we'll talk about that later because it shows up in Ethan's writing as well. So Ethan, please tell us about your book.
Sure. My name's Ethan Tapper, and I'm mostly a forester from here in Vermont, not too far away, just over in Bolton. And I got to tell you, it's such an honor to be up here with Helen and here with all of you. And it's such an honor to have gotten to write this book, How to Love a Forest, and to get to carry this message all over the place for the last year and a little bit that it's been out. It's been truly amazing. When people ask me what How to Love a Forest is about, I say a lot of different things. I say that it's a celebration of nuance. I say that it's a love story. Recently, I feel like I've been saying that it's a book about hope. Because we're in this moment, right, where we inherit this world, like this farm that Helen mentioned, like my land, Bear Island, that I talk a lot about in the book. This world that feels like pretty beat up and in trouble, and we dealing with these incredible amounts of these conflicts and problems and things that it doesn't seem like we could ever fix. They're just too big. And yet, it's not hopeless. And yet, there is so much that's still here and so much that's really worth saving. So I was realizing as I talked to Peter that we have a connection, which is that I got a tattoo at Knoll Farm from my friend Zoe, who's in the book. And that tattoo is this flower that's called a pink corydalis. Does anyone know a pink cory? It's a deep cut. It is a teeny tiny little thing, and it grows like out of cracks in the rock. And it looks almost Columbine-ish, but it's not. And so I have this story that I write about in the book of coming to this piece of land, Bear Island, and I had this idea in my head that I wanted to, I'd been working as a forester for 5 or 6 years, but I wanted to have a forest of my own to take care of. And my friend was like, "Do you see that piece of land for sale, Bolton?" And I looked at it and I was like, "It's pretty cheap. Wonder what's wrong with it." And I went to go find out. And the first time that I went there, I just found this forest that was just horrible. It had, as I say, every problem that a forest could have. And to me, it was just this like symbol of everything that was wrong with the world. And, and I was like, forget this place, and I left. And then I kept on thinking about it. I saw on this realtor's website, it was still up there. And a couple months later, I went back. And when I went back, it was summertime. And I started to find all these plants that I love. Plants like the pink corydalis, grown from the cracks in the rock. And I started to find all these other things. I started to find these other plants that I love, like sweet fern and low bush blueberry and maple leaf viburnum, and these threads of bare-scarred red pines along the edges of the cliffs, and these rock outcrops with these sweeping views of the Winooski River Valley. And I was standing on one of those rock outcrops when I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and buy this place. And it's one of these things where I think about it all the time, where it's just like we get what we get. We inherit this world. There's a passage that I'm going to read in a second that there's one line that really sticks with me that I don't totally know where it came from, which is that we owe too much to the future to be imprisoned by the past. Here we are, and we have this opportunity and this responsibility to be stewards of this land that we find ourselves in. And so now when I talk about like what I write about, I talk a lot about hope, and I really say that what I am the most interested in is this ancient act of stewardship, how we care for this land, and essentially the concept of ecological responsibility. What is our responsibility to this land? What is our responsibility to each other? And I wish that I could tell you that all we had to do was just leave everything alone and let this beautiful, complex concept that we call nature take its course, and that everything would be fine. And I can't tell you that. And I'm sorry. But I think that what I try to capture in the book is how beautiful and how worthwhile some of these complex and bittersweet and even heartbreaking actions that we can take to care for this world are. So I'm going to read a book. So Helen just read a reading from the very beginning of the Saltstones, which, by the way, did you hear that Saltstones was longlisted for the National Book Award? That's not nothing. Jeez. And so what I want to write about is at the end of how I actually end How to Love a Forest. sort of culminates, and as you read How to Love a Forest, I keep on telling you stuff that's harder and harder and harder to accept. I do it on purpose. And at the end, I'm going through this process, which is one of my favorite things to do, which also has a connection with Helen's book, which is planting acorns. In an area where I've done a big action, cut a bunch of trees. All right. Humidity cloaks the land, drawing tiny round beads of sweat from my skin. For a moment, the mountain is cast in golden light. It smells sharp and strong. As I touch another acorn, a raindrop strikes the back of my hand, rolling between the small bones of my fingers. Suddenly, droplets are stippling the soil like falling stars, throwing up little clouds of dust. I have nowhere to be, and so I kneel, watching the water run around the stumps and the upturned leaves, drawing spider webs on the earth. Someday, I will tell my children that the caves in the talus above are a womb, the origin of all the black bears on the mountain, and that the springs in the big bowl are the source of all of its waters. Someday I will walk these trails with my children and teach them to reimagine forests as communities of complexity and depth and expansiveness, communities that are fated to change, to celebrate both the miracle of life and the miracle of death. Someday I will kneel beside these stumps, a young forest blooming around me, and teach my children the imperfect truth of what it means to love a forest. Someday I will teach my children that this world is not ours to hold, but that we hold it anyway. That each of us is a steward for one brief and precious moment in time. In our short lives, we must learn to pair power and freedom with humility, to embody relationship and responsibility, even when it breaks our hearts. Someday I will tell my children that despite everything, we are destined to thrive, that we are destined to live in a world that is beautiful. In the years to come, the traces of this moment will fade. This empty patch cut will have become a diverse young forest, the stumps softening and mixing with those of the oaks cut decades ago. I will walk through this young forest and remember this autumn day when my hands were young. I will remember that each tall, perfect oak was once an acorn between my fingertips, that this forest is a child of responsibility, something that we could only have embodied together. No one but me will ever truly know the pieces of myself that I've left on this mountain, the labor of love that being the steward of this land has been. I will know, and that is enough. We owe too much to the future to be imprisoned by the past. As the storm passes over me, I'm grateful to be anything at all, grateful to be alive at a time when there is so much worth saving. I want to live in the world that will arise from this moment, the world built by people who are brave and humble and resilient, who make countless bittersweet compromises, who live their lives with the dream of a better world burning in their chests. I want to live in the world that will be created by people planting acorns in the rain. Sometimes this life feels like autumn, the exhausted end of a boundless summer. Today I choose to live in a world in which spring is just breaking, a world that is just awakening, just beginning to discover what it truly is. I look toward the broken ridge of the mountain and feel a powerful nostalgia, not for the past, but for the future. High above the storm, the light is swelling, calling everything upward toward a world that is just beginning.
Wow, there's some writing chops on either side of me. You are both really beautiful writers, and I enjoyed both of your books so very much. Can you talk to me a little bit about your writing practices? I mean, I know that you had a career in publishing before you wrote this book. You, Ethan, did not, and you studied forestry in college. So I'm curious to know where your impulse to write came from. And
can I quote Helen's book?
Please do.
As far as her writing practice, she said, Winter is when I sit down.
It's true. It's absolutely. I'm sure you're the same. I have a feeling you're the same.
I have a practice. This whole thing, like the whole How to Love a Forest, is such a magical process in many ways, and an emergent process. And how I started to do it was that I had this. So foresters get up early in the morning. It's like a thing. I had one forestry colleague tell me that when he was applying for jobs, when he didn't used to get up very early in the morning, he would set an alarm and he would wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and then he would email the application, and then he would go back to sleep. It's like a thing. So I got up early, and I noticed that there was this time, the first hour that I was awake, when I was a very productive, good little worker. I'd be just typing away and sending all these emails and stuff. And then I just had some stuff that I wanted to write about. I don't know what even really started it, but I said, what if I kept that time all to myself? And I started to do this practice where I still think that if I had been trying to write a book, I definitely wouldn't have done it, because it would have been too scary, too intimidating, didn't know how to do it. But I was just like, I'm going to write for an hour, 5 to 6 a.m. I would just be watching the world wake up and drinking my coffee and tapping away. And then 6 o'clock, close the laptop, go work in the woods. And it went from being this like me trying to do anything to just being a practice that I love. And I still do it every day. I do it on my birthday. It's just the best way to start a day. I can't wait. Can't wait to do it.
Do you start your day with writing?
Yeah, I do. Actually, if I even let myself get dressed before I start writing, then it's like too much of a distraction. So I will just like get up. I do light the fire, and then I sit down at my desk like in my pajamas, and I make a cup of tea. But yeah, that's really important for me actually before like I go out and feed the animals or anything, because it's like you said, Ethan, like there's something about the mind before it's fully awake that is very important, I think, for the creative process. Sometimes I'll go back to it in the afternoon or evening if something happens, but a lot of things happen to me in the middle of the night. A lot of my writing happens in the middle of the night, and I need to like hurry to capture it before the day really starts. Yeah.
I think if you, it felt like when I was reading the Saltstones, I feel like these two books are just like peanut butter and jelly.
I agree.
Yeah, there's in so many ways, but I feel like the tone is so similar, and now it makes perfect sense because they're both of that time, you know. And when people have like asked me like, where did the tone come from or whatever, and I'm like, it's just from that time of day when the veil is thin, I say.
Yeah, and I think there's a way in which there's so many similarities, right? I mean, I was blown away when I read your book, and I feel like, and I just love it so much. And I feel like there's a way in which we both are sort of channeling just our love of when we're walking around and all these like these moments in the day, whether it's the light or the plants or the the wind or the sweat on your skin, or like it's kind of like that's coming through in such a similar way in both of our books. And I've actually been thinking a lot lately about this idea of nature writing and poetry that's about nature as being like a time capsule, because I think more and more, and we both write about loss, and everyone in this room knows that nature's not as vibrant and alive and diverse and full as it was when we were children or when our grandparents were children. And I was just reading actually about, there's this project in England where they're looking at like poems that were written in like the 10th and 11th century about very specific locations and specific species that were there. And they're actually using this as a way to kind of trace like what was the world like in 1100, And so, nature poetry can kind of often be discounted by the literary world, right? Like, so it's just nature poetry. It's like flowery, but I think that more and more it is like this really important time capsule of like, what is this moment on this piece of earth like? And it won't be like that necessarily for our children, right? And it's kind of a sad, like poignant thought, but it makes me all the more motivated to capture what I can of what I observe. And I say in the book something about really being intent on trying to describe nature as it is, like to try hard. It's hard sometimes, but to try not to like overly romanticize it or to push it in a way that makes it dramatic or a better story, but just to try to describe it as it is. And I think that's important to you too, I can tell. Yeah.
Well, you write about some very challenging things, the threats to your animals. And when I mentioned earlier that idea of reciprocity and mutualism, I was thinking about a passage in Ethan's book about the nature's need for this sort of symbiotic relationships and parasitic relationships. And I want to read back to you something that in a letter that you wrote to booksellers about your book. You wrote, "I reflect a lot on our place in nature and the capacity we have as humans to cause damage to the land, but also to help it heal. And again, how we are one small part of an infinite web of relationships extending through the natural world." And that feels a little disjointed as a question, but I want to get to this idea of the threats to your animals and the things that you have to deal with and the ways that you have to assist them, whether it's birth or a parasite or a virus, and the things that you have to do in the forest to repair the damage that one bit of nature has done to another, say the Japanese barberry invasion. Yeah. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to hear Ethan's answer to this. I feel like there are numerous places in your book where you say it so well about how we will never understand the intricacies of nature, like no matter what we do, like, and we have to approach it with that level of humility. And at the same time, we're totally dependent on it, and we do change it and damage it, and we have been intimately part of it from the beginning. Like, even places like, the Amazonian rainforest, like we know now that is a peopled landscape, and that people's relationship with the land and is like as intimate a part of it as anything else. It's not separate. And the idea that if we just remove ourselves, land will be healed, we know now is not an accurate or helpful idea. But that has been the guiding idea of conservation, right, through this entire century and before. So what do we do with that? Like, we know that we need to be part of it, but how do we be part of it, knowing that we can also be such destructive creatures? And I think for me, a lot of it does come down to this idea of reciprocity and also engagement, like, and observation, like, that anytime that you are present with something and you care for something, you have greater intimacy with it, whether it's a person or a child or a partner or a piece of land. That's just fundamentally true. And so that sort of like caring, observing, being present with something, to me feels like the fundamental beginning of then deciding, do I spray this barberry or do I leave it? Do I cut these birch saplings out, or or beech rather, or do I leave one or not? Like all these decisions that you're making in the forest and I'm making in the meadow are weighed against your somewhat limited understanding of the whole, but you're always striving for a bigger understanding of the whole. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just pulling out a reading from this author I really like. Helen Whybrow, Saltstones. Very, very short one that just says, belonging requires more than anything, participation. So one of the things about doing, however you're interacting with the land, when you're have a close relationship with it, you have this deep relationship, trying to develop more and more all the time, deep knowledge of these ecosystems. All of these things that we might sit in a room like this and think that's so simple, all they got to do is just this. That's so simple, all they got to do is just that. Makes no sense, right? And I think, it's one of these things where when you're actually there and you're actually standing on that land in a forest, on a piece of land that is unlike any others, right? That is totally unique, that is facing totally novel threats and stressors, totally novel opportunities. You're forced to engage with it in a different way. And I think that sometimes we limit ourselves by being like, our job is to do this one. Our job is to grow sheep. Our job is to grow trees. When really, we're asking the wrong questions. The question we should be asking is like, how do we live here, really? What is required not to solve like one problem independent of all these other things, but like, what kind of a world do we want to live in? And how do we interact with this world in a way that is healing and helpful, and also, that's providing habitat for all the different species that live here, and also one other species, which is humans. Like, we live here too, and I want to live here, and I want to not just create a world that's more abundant for trees, but also for people. I love people. And so, whereas we could just be like, I don't know, leave nature alone, or treat a forest like it's a cornfield, or whatever. You get closer and you start to look harder, and you start to see that none of that makes any sense. I've started to think about this process of like building this knowledge, building this understanding of ecosystems. Sometimes when we build knowledge, we think of it as if we need to like leave where we are and go to a different place. And it's not like that. We need to stay where we are and go deeper. And one of these things that happens is that when you go deeper into relationship, deeper into knowledge, the places where you are, you start to see some of this nuance. I learned recently the etymology of the word nuance. Has anyone heard this? It's from nubes, which means cloud. And it refers to the fact that when you look at a cloud, you're like, it's white. I know the color of a cloud. And then when you look closer, you start to see this rainbow of colors that's contained within that thing that you thought was just this monochromatic, shapeless thing. Everything that we do in our relationship with this biosphere and with each other is like that. And so sometimes one of the tricks of it is to go deeper ourselves, and then to use whatever tools we have at our disposal, be they physical tools, tools of language, and other things, to bring people in deeper. And then you start to see the complexity of the problems that we face and the opportunities that we have.
I like that idea of being here and going deeper, and that's the source of our hope and our future. And I want to ask you what that means to you and the work that you do at the farm with the refuge. And also, I want to give you an opportunity to read that gorgeous passage in your book about belonging, because I think it's relevant to this.
Yeah, this reminds me of a quote that I love from Richard Nelson. If anyone has read The Island Within, they know Richard Nelson, or if you haven't read The Island Within, I really highly recommend it. Really gorgeous, gorgeous book about Southeast Alaska. And Richard Nelson said, there's more to be learned from climbing the same mountain 100 times than climbing 100 different mountains. And I really believe that as well. So, and now I've lost track of your question, which was a good one, but it's gone.
It was long, I'm very sorry. I'm not good with short questions. Tell us about this idea of place and going deeper and belonging, and
Oh,
you
and the
don't need to
refuge.
relate it to the
Yeah.
refuge
Yeah,
necessarily.
I mean, to talk about the refuge adequately would take all evening. And I would also need to pull up my husband, who's in the audience, who is much more articulate about it than I am, and who is really the engine behind it all and the brilliance and creativity behind it all. But I think fundamental, it's so connected to everything we're talking about, which is that humans have a place in nature, and they have a very important place in nature, and that always it has been shown that when there's greater cultural diversity, there is greater biodiversity, and that that what is good for the land is good for people. And so I think our work has really been about reconnecting and connecting people with place and learning from them, having them learn from each other, and to bring the conversations about, so often in this country conversations are siloed into like you know issues of environment and conservation and land tend to be segregated from issues of public health and wellness and cultural and social reform, right? And so we've worked really hard to bring those two conversations together and see that we need to have the same solution. Social solutions, environmental solutions need to be hand in hand. So what a better place to have those conversations than a working farm and a mountainside in Vermont. So that's really that piece. And I think that people who come through these programs to the farm and have for many years feel a fundamental sense of belonging because they're just really allowed to be themselves in this place without much of an agenda. And it has really informed my farming, honestly, and the reason that I farm. And it is partly for people. It's for people to feel a sense of healing. It's not just to grow meat or grow wool. It's for people to feel like they belong to this story, and they've always belonged to this story, and that we have something to share with one another. I can read to you this passage if you like. Yeah. And this is toward the end of the book. This is in a chapter called Winter, where is probably the more philosophical chapter of the book, because that's what I do in winter. I sit around and philosophize a lot. I never thought after leaving my childhood farm that I would ever find another place where I felt so at home, so connected to myself. I feared that the power and wholeness I felt in girlhood and lost as a teen was something I would always mourn. In shape-shifting from that deeply rooted girl, I tested my strength as a wanderer, while always longing for the place that I credited for my wholeness. Then I came here. Over the years, living and moving with sheep over this hillside, tending and attending to this place, I thought I had simply replaced one attachment to place with another. But in writing my love song to this hillside, I have begun to trace how belonging happens, and I have begun to understand how it's not attached to particulars. It's not about finding any one place, one person, one thing that holds us. It is not outside of us at all. Belonging is more about the ritual and dedicated attention within us to something beloved that matters. The word belonging encompasses longing. In nature, I feel a belonging with and a belonging to, a kinship, a reciprocity, as well as a longing for greater intimacy and knowledge, to be radically present and to be loved, a belonging in and for the greater world. But this feeling can happen anywhere. I know this now. We are participants in our own sense of belonging. It doesn't happen automatically and has less to do with the place itself than our energy to receive it. We make it happen with a mother, a daughter, a hillside, a life work, a way of being, through a deep commitment over time, through our curiosity, through our merging. Belonging is a two-way embrace. It begins the moment someplace or someone says to you, "Welcome," and you receive the gift. You set your bags down inside a door, inside a heart. Then belonging requires more than anything, participation. It requires unpacking your bags and discarding everything you were carrying that you no longer need to fully embrace where you are. Finding belonging requires a softening of the boundaries of self. A quest to find you are enough becomes all at once you are infinite. To practice belonging is an act of resistance against diminishment of ourselves and of the more than human world that offers all of us a home. Thank you.
I think I have to say that that passage was the best writing I read in all of 2025. And I read it and promptly got out a piece of paper and copied down every word and etched it into my memory. It is really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with all of us tonight. And I want to give Ethan a chance as well to read some more of his book. And again, I'm going to dictate what that is because I'm in the middle. Will you read the passage that we talked to the freedom? Yes, sorry. 113. No, 134.
134.
Yep. I marvel at Jack's forest.
I had this, so like this concept of like belonging requires participation is such a thing. Because again, the thing that I'm really excited about is this act of stewardship, which is what we're doing anyway, by the way, whether we realize it or not. Like we are stewards of this planet and of this biosphere and of all of these different things that live here and of each other. And I had this realization this spring where I have this little orchard at Bear Island that every year I just allotted myself $300. And I buy bare root apple trees from Fedco. Do you guys know about Fedco? Yeah, the best. Yeah, buy weird varieties. They have all these weird old heirloom apples and stuff. And then you just plant a few at a time. And, every year I'm just like, yeah, I'll just plant a few more apple trees. And then every year I got to prune them and mulch them and weed them. By the way, it's more than 100 trees now. Got to prune them and mulch them and water them and weed them and tend them and train them, all these different things. And every year they get bigger. And they haven't even started to make fruit yet. And I was like, I had like one of the trees fruit and I was like, what am I going to do? And I had this realization where I was like, oh, planting the tree is the easiest part. That really, the truly radical act is not just to put that tree in the ground, but then to stay and tend the trees that you've planted, right? And then to engage in this process without an ending, which continues forever and is beset with challenges and setbacks and failures forever, right? And you realize that the process is the thing, right? That there's no end point, just tending those trees. And so sometimes in my life, I get to work with all these different folks who find themselves into conservation or forest landowners. And sometimes you meet a really good one. And that's what this reading's about. It's about this guy, Jack, who just, it was a joy to walk through his forest. And so I'm going to read that. I marvel at Jack's forest, this profound expression of care and compassion in a world that feels full of exploitation and short-sightedness. Jack has no children, no one that he is managing this forest for. He is simply building a better legacy for those who may someday follow, whoever they are. He has cared for this forest not because he had to, but because he has chosen to, because he is called toward responsibility. Like each of us, Jack has a house to keep and a forest to tend, a life of his own and a life to give to the world. Like each of us, Jack must find a way to care for the garden of his imperfect life while tending to the garden that we all share. Freedom is a chainsaw with the potential to be so many good and terrible things. We cannot choose if we will cut into the flesh of this biosphere, cannot choose whether or not our freedom will impact the freedom of others or of future generations. All that we can do is to choose how we will live in the world that we have been given. If we will treat this earth like a mine or a garden, if we will exploit and abuse it, or if we will turn toward relationship and responsibility and find a way to live with compassion. We walk back through the hayfield and toward Jack's old house, its clapboards bobbing in a sea of goldenrod. As Jack and I chat, I am brimming with hope. Suddenly, I can imagine finding balance in this off-kilter world. I can envision a reality where enriching each other is as important as enriching ourselves, where freedom is something that we can only attain together. This morning, I can envision a world where we see our power and our freedom as tools to plant seeds in the earth, to offer future generations a freedom unknown to the world of today. I wonder what this world would become if we realized that freedom does not belong to us, that it is borrowed from this living world, borrowed from those without freedom, borrowed from the world of the future. I wonder if we could learn to seek individual freedom within collective freedom, individual liberation within collective liberation, individual prosperity within collective prosperity. I imagine in this epic of loneliness, what would happen if we reached toward freedom together?
So great. So I want to thank you both. You have edified and inspired me. And thank you for your beautiful writing. I'd like to give the audience an opportunity to ask some questions. We have about 15 minutes for that. I think I need to pop up and grab the wireless microphone though, so give me a sec.
That was this band called The Clash. I taught them everything they know. I wish.
All right, so if you'd raise your hand if you have a question, I'll bring the mic to you. Anyone? George, thank you.
I wanted to follow up on your discussion of writing practices. And as I was listening, it reminded me of some other books like Goat Song, Brad Kessler, and what is it, Dirty Hands or Dirty
Life.
Dirty Life. And I didn't know if when you were thinking about what you wanted to write or if you were reading other books in the same genre or if you wanted to come with just a blank slate. I don't want to sound like Wendell Berry and so how do you read something, learn from it, but not overly affect you and what you want to say?
Yeah, that's such an excellent question. Thank you. I do find that reading really helps my writing. And I don't think that I necessarily will read something looking for a model or a voice, but I definitely feel like the more that I read really great writing, the more it influences and informs me. And sometimes I'll read poetry when I'm writing, or sometimes I'll read like a novel that I find like there's something about it that just really gives me that love of language that I'm looking for. Obviously for the Saltstones, I also read a lot of back history and just really dry stuff, honestly. And And then I think, honestly, I think the biggest challenge that I had is how do I take the factual information, like, the history of sheep farming or what happened to the Navajo churro, and interweave it with a story so it didn't feel disjointed or it didn't feel like overly dry for too long. So that was kind of, sometimes I would read like journalism that I felt like long form journalism where I felt like somebody had figured out how to do that really well because I was learning how to do that. I didn't really know how to do it. Yeah. And Ethan, I want to hear your answer.
I feel like I never read anything like these books. Normally I'm like reading so much nonfiction background, and then I read a book like this, and I'm like, oh, reading can be fun, you know. And but I do have a couple favorites like in this genre. There's this one book that I think many people don't know about this book. I found it in like one of these used bookstores. You ever go into one of the used bookstores and they're like barely open, and there's a grumpy guy with like coffee stains on his shirt, and he's like, "What do you want?" You know? I just found this. I don't know why it happened, but I found this book by this author named Sigurd Olson, called Runes of the North. And it is the best piece of nature writing I have ever read in my life. And then there's that, and then there's another alchemy of the just like writers that are able to put so much information in ecological writing that goes down so easy. I think the best example of this is this book called The Hidden Forest Biography of an Ecosystem by John Luoma, which is this book about all of this interdisciplinary team of scientists that get together to describe this forest in the Pacific Northwest called the Andrews Experimental Forest. And it sounds like really dry, right? And it goes down so smooth. And I think it's probably the best book about forest ecology ever written for a lay audience. And then there's another, my friend Ben Goldfarb, has written wonderful books. He wrote a book about beavers called Eager, and wrote another book about road ecology called Crossings. He is also a genius at that. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm just like, how do they do it? I'm just like writing about my feelings and other stuff and stuff I know. And then Ben's just like going all over the world and incorporating all this data and all these people and all these perspectives. That's what amazes me. But yeah, if you want a piece of nature writing, I would say check out that Runes of the North book by Sigurd Olson, and good, like action-packed but goes down smooth writing, check out any of those other books.
I second this recommendation of Eager. Very entertaining book to read, and I learned a lot about beavers that I would never have known otherwise. Any other questions? One more, Ashley.
What a wonderful metaphor. Peanut butter and jelly. So, both of you have done a marvelous job. One peanut butter and the other jelly. But where's the bread? Do we have some bread in mind?
I was going to say,
what's next?
That's you guys.
Yeah. The readers are the bread. You have to have something to like stick this peanut butter on, and then so yeah, I think that I honestly feel like, and again, so curious to hear what Ethan thinks of this, but I honestly feel like a book, like my book has changed since people started reading it. And that it's like changed in my own mind, but it's also just changed. Like I feel differently about it. I think differently about it. And part of it's just having distance from it. Like when you're writing a book, you're so immersed that you don't even know what you're saying anymore. You just feel like a blithering idiot after a while. And there's something just absolutely magical and transformative about having it go out in the world. You've kind of forgotten about it a little bit. And then it starts like coming back to you through other people's lives and lenses. and it's changed. It's just different because of how you all receive it and digest it and reflect it back. And I think that's to me like a hope. Speaking of hope, like to me it's hopeful that these books are doing well in the world. People are reading them, people want to read them, because when I was writing about sheep, I was like, no one's going to want to read this book about sheep, you know. And like just feeling like, you know, you hear, I worked for Orion magazine, you hear over and over again, nature writing is dead, right? And I just feel like there's a lot of hope that people are willing to go there with these sorts of like very deep inquiries into like our place in the world and nature. And I'm just so excited by that. Yeah.
Nature writing is not dead at the Vermont Book Shop anyway.
I know.
These are
Vermont, yes,
two of our
Vermont readers are
best-selling
great.
books,
Yeah.
and it's a
Yeah.
category that does extremely well. So
I gotta put in a plug. Yeah, on that same vein, so I have a book that's coming out in October. That's an almanac, sort of. It's called The Forest Year. And yeah, so it's another one of these things where I'm like, I just was doing a pass on it. I got it back from the copy editors, and you're like, it's like away for a while, and then it comes back to you. And you really lose perspective on it. You're just like, is this bad? Like, do I hate this? And then you're like, no, but then I love it. And then you don't like it, and then you love it, and then it's this whole thing. And then there's a lag. So, because now, so I have this book coming, and I love it, and it's coming out in October. But in the intervals, when I haven't had the book because it's off with the editors, or it's about to just be off, getting printed or whatever, I'm writing about other stuff. So now I'm working on this other book that maybe will be out in 2 years or something, or maybe never, about all of these different critters. I want to call it American critters, because the critter is one of my favorite words. But then it's this funny thing where it would be like if you like recorded a stripped down like acoustic album of music, and then as it's getting mixed and mastered and sent off and everything, you start working on like electronic music, and you're like, this is what I'm excited about now. So I'm reading this book that's coming out, which is going to be great, but I'm like, I wish there's more about foxes. You
could call it Critters Unplugged.
That's right.
It's your acoustic.
This is my acoustic set.
do we have any more questions? Anyone else? All right. Oh.
Yeah, I have this weird thing where people will text me photographs of the book in other places like Iceland or Europe or Australia. So that's kind of fun. Sort of like my book has been traveling the world, which is, and it's going to be coming out in German and Korean and Chinese, which really blows my mind. I can't wait to see the cover in like Chinese. That'll be really interesting.
It's remarkable. It's just like planting a seed. Every time I get to put it in someone's hand, planting a seed, just here's this book, maybe you tell someone else you like the book, but also for the stuff that's in the book. And then it just gets to like live its own life. And I have this weird thing now where I'm weirdly like a little bit of a social media boy.
A little bit?
And so now I have, of course, an endless supply of ding-dongs from across the world that yell at me. But then also people who are just like, yeah, I have your book. It's in Australia. I saw your book in a bookstore in West Virginia and California and Utah. And it's really cool. It's really, really special. I think everybody should do it.
One more, Beth.
Oh yeah, this is a popular question. Thank you for asking. Yeah, our younger daughter, Ren, who's 21 now, when she was 18, and I was just finishing the book, she rode her loaded bike which she built herself out of the driveway of the farm. And she pedaled to the West Coast, Bellingham, Washington. And then she was going to take a ferry up to Alaska. The ferry was broken for like 2 weeks. So she ended up taking a bus. But she got there. She spent the rest of the summer in Alaska. And yeah, she did it. So we were very proud of her. We thought she was completely insane, but we were very proud of her. Yeah.
Well, now all the moms in the audience can sleep soundly.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep for the whole summer, really, but I had to let her do it. She was absolutely determined. So we set her up with some, a hot shower and a friendly face like once a week on her journey. But she really did it on her own. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I would like to thank you again and congratulate you both on the success of your books.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ethan.
And there are books for sale in the lobby. Please don't hold back. And Ethan and Helen will be available for signing. And if you'd like to say hello and ask them a question on your own without being televised, please feel free.